One of the terrible things about grief is that grief is a thief. It robs you of certain things that you sort of become used to, like joy, the joy of living. I have always enjoyed life. I've always enjoyed waking up in the morning. I've enjoyed the challenges of life. As a matter of fact, when I've been challenged, it seems like the energy just rises up inside of me. It doesn't mean I like them all the time. Some of the challenges have taken my breath away. And this time, the challenge of grief in my life has not just taken my breath away, it's taken away my joy. And I was reading in David's penitential psalm, Psalm 51, when he was, so broken down over the sin that he had committed. And he said this, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with a willing spirit." Restore to me the joy, listen to these words, speaking to God, your salvation. He didn't say restore to me the joy of my salvation. At this point, he's not necessarily focused on or being selfish about the situation that he's in. He's focusing on the joy of God's salvation, because here's what he knows. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord's salvation is his strength. And then later on in this same chapter, he says this. He says, when I'm joyful, when I rejoice, when you restore to me that joy, and I no longer have this heavy, grieving spirit, because he was grieving his sin. He even says in Psalms, in the earlier part of Psalms 31 and 32, he speaks about his bones wasting away. He just didn't really have a will to live. He felt like he was on his deathbed. Grief is like that. Robs you of the joy of life. But then when the joy is restored, it puts a smile on God's face. God rejoices when we rejoice. And so we have this sense in which sometimes we serve God out of obligation. I'm indebted to God. I must serve him. No matter what I'm feeling, I must praise him. Sacrifice of praise unto the Lord. All those wonderful scriptures, and we know all of those things. And sometimes we do that. But the greatest time is when, with a joyful heart, we rejoice in the salvation of our God, the restoration of that. I sometimes get up in the mornings just about as heavy as I can be. And I know I got to get through the day. And I come home at night, and I got to get through the night. And the challenge of her loss is ever before me. And if I'm not careful, I begin to let life ooze out of me. And some days I really don't care. I will be honest with you. I don't have a death wish. But boy, I do long for the coming of the Lord. If he came in the clouds today, it would not be too soon for me. And so I'm dealing with this joyless moment in my life. It's not easy. It's very difficult. I feel like sometimes I'm letting God down. I feel like he expects more out of me. I think his kingdom deserves a better effort than I'm giving it. I just don't seem to be able to pull that up out of myself right now. She was a joyful person. Shirley loved life. She always had that smile. She always had that charm. She always loved Jesus. She went to bed with Jesus on her lips, and she woke up in the morning the same way. She loved God. She loved her family. She loved the church. She loved me better than I could ever deserve to be loved, and I loved her. And grief has taken my joy. And somehow in this season, I must get it back. That's my challenge. Thank you for joining me on the journey of dealing with the grief of the loss of the greatest treasure that I've been privileged to have in this life.